more to this much.
Okay, we're back on the record in CV19-08336. Has everyone had a chance to get set up after changing out from the pre-trial? Thank you all for your patience. We'll do the best. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, we will, as I have told all the parties, we'll do the best we can today. I anticipate we may not finish. We do have some time on Monday, and we'll check with all the parties and see, but court staff does need to leave before 5 today. We last ended with Mr. Brown was cross-examining Mr. Hale. Did you have additional questions for Mr. Hale?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Hale, you're still under oath, but please watch your step as you come up to the witness stand.
So, are we going to finish watching the video?
My finding was that what I had seen was the relevant portion, but I will note that that's over your objection, so you have preserved that issue for appeal. All right, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, I can go ahead and go.
Yeah,
All right.
go ahead.
Okay, Christopher Hill. So, which portion did I give a speech? Did I ever give a speech that on that video?
It was hard to hear, but yes, you did.
Okay, what did I say on the speech?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to I wasn't memorizing it, that's why we played it.
So we're going to have to continue to play it, and you have to show me the place on that video that you said that I made a speech, and I was disorderly. There was no place on there that we saw yet that I was disorderly, was there? So
Yeah.
far?
First, you interjected yourself into a conversation between an officer and someone who was sitting in the courtroom. You stated that, he needed to stop because it was your court, and he was interfering with your court. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said that, or very close to it. You then stood up and made some kind of comment about what was going on, and he didn't do nothing, and that's about all I can paraphrase.
I stood up and said that?
Yes.
And we saw...
You were off camera, but you could hear your voice.
Okay. So what you saw on that was I was disorderly, on what you saw so
You
far.
disrupted the court operations, yes.
What you saw, and which part of it was it mainly?
The part where they started to ask Mr. Gonzalez to depart the courtroom.
Okay. And what reason was he asked to depart the courtroom?
I'm not sure. I don't know. You'd have to ask the officer.
Did you send that officer in?
No.
Okay. When he left the courtroom, did
I
he
made
talk?
the officer aware of what I consider to be a violation by Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay. And when he walked in the courtroom and then he walked out, correct? The officer.
Yes.
Did he talk to you when he walked out?
I do not believe he did. I was looking for a judge to bring into the courtroom to watch so that, if needed, you could be held in contempt.
Okay. At that time,
And I couldn't find a judge.
so I had court that day, correct?
Yes.
I was waiting for my court date.
You were being arraigned that day.
Yes. So I was there for my court date.
Yes.
Okay. And in the part that you said I gave a speech was the part we already saw on the video. Do I give a speech after? You watched this video, correct?
Yes.
Did I give a speech after 9:31 when we stopped?
I'm not sure.
Was I further disruptive after 9:30 when we stopped?
I think you made comments until the time that Mr. Gonzalez was removed from the courtroom, and I do not think we played that part of the meeting.
So you think I made disruptive comments in the part coming?
You
Okay?
made comments in the courtroom. You had no reason to make comments in the courtroom.
Okay?
So that's disruptive to court operations. If somebody were to come into this courtroom and start talking, I'm sure the judge would not allow that.
Okay. Was the court in session?
Yes. Was the judge on the bench? No. And that makes that recording that we're viewing a violation of Rule 122.
Who made, well, was it my violation? Who made that?
I don't know, you know.
Okay. Who else in that courtroom amongst all the people was recording? How many people do you see recording?
I have
here?
no idea.
So was
Mr.
it,
Phelps looks like he was recording.
was any of them
Mr.
arrested?
Gonzalez could have been recording. Is it Credo? Dave Credo?
So you're saying could have been, but was
I
they?
don't know. It's like when somebody has a gun and they point it at you. You don't know if it's loaded or not.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Gonzalez, the officer said he was arrested for filming in the courthouse. The officer said that on there. Did you hear him say that?
I did not. I don't recall hearing him say that. I recall hearing him say, you need to step out.
And then he said, what for, correct? He asked him why he was being arrested.
I'm not sure that he even said that he was going to be arrested.
Was he arrested?
All I remember is him saying, please step outside. Mr. Gonzalez refusing to step outside.
Okay. But I'm trying to get at, what paper did he have in his hand? When he was walking up to Mr. Gonzalez, what paper did he have?
Who?
The officer. He had a paper in his hand.
I don't know.
And he said it was to serve him an injunction against harassment. So he was going to serve him right then, right?
I would assume, I
I
don't.
think that's an irrelevant question.
And it's also been asked and answered, the witness testified that he didn't know. So it's just-
You didn't hear the officer say that he was going to serve him and he wanted to step outside. Is that what the reason? Is that the reason he wanted him to step outside?
The conflict between the officer and Mr. Gonzalez is irrelevant in this particular case.
That's sustained.
Okay. Your Honor, when I bring Patrick Gonzalez up here, I can ask him these questions, right?
It's gonna be subject to objections as to whether, and I am making a finding that whether the arrest was legal or not, is not relevant as to the other behavior that was done, in response to that. That would be something that Mr. Gonzalez could contest in the event that he faces criminal charges.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so the other, so the three things that you say on here, the first two we went over a little bit, and the third one on May 11th, 2019. Mark states in a video, once current IWH expires, he does not have to comply with a Supreme Court rule. Do you have the video that I said that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you play that?
Your Honor, that's irrelevant.
He put it in the order, Your Honor. He's saying in this order that I said something.
I am more than happy to play it if the judge wants it.
Hold on, I need to rule on the objection.
Your Honor, I think what Mr. Hale says is he saw a video where Mr. Brown says he said it. And Mr. Brown's gonna be a witness sooner or later in this proceeding. We can ask him whether he said it without having to watch 15 minutes of ridiculous videos, including all kinds of cartoonish preludes and all the rest of it. I think that's irrelevant.
Okay, my finding is that there was, the testimony so far has been that there was a recording of Mr. Hale without his consent on January 2nd, that there was a disruption of court operations on January 24th, There was not testimony provided on direct about the statement in the additional video. So I find that as it would go to any of the potential acts of harassment, acts of workplace harassment, that it would be irrelevant because I'm not giving weight to anything mentioned that was not supported by testimony. So that is sustained as irrelevant.
Okay, so so he's saying something that can't be confirmed. So, I mean,
But I do want to make sure that you're clear, Mr. Ben, I'm not giving weight to that as it goes to the potential two or more acts of harassment because there was no testimony provided about that on direct. So that's why I'm finding that it's irrelevant. I'm not telling you that I'm giving weight to it, but preventing you from crossing.
Oh, thank you, sir. I understand now. All right. All right. Okay, so back on January 2nd, was I arrested on January 2nd?
I don't believe so. But for the filming that you say I did on January 2nd, what day was I arrested, do you know? I don't believe you were arrested for that.
Okay,
I filed a complaint with Tucson Police Department, but I don't know that you were arrested.
all right, so I wasn't arrested inside city court, walking into your office 21 to serve a notice of appeal. I was not arrested and cited on January 11th.
Your Honor, could you ask him to restate the question? I'm not sure what date is 21 or what.
If you could clarify the date. On the-
January 11th, I was arrested for the actions I did on,
Objection relevant.
That is sustained. As to whether there's probable cause for an arrest is a different question as to whether there's probable cause to believe that two or more acts occurred. So that is sustained based on, it is a different legal standard.
so the Christopher Hale, the officer said that he had orders from Christopher Hale to arrest me on January 11th when I walked in the building. So that's what I'm trying to get at. I was arrested on the orders of Christopher Hale. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And what I have to find in this hearing is whether by a preponderance of the evidence, which is a separate, and I believe I may have just misspoken, that whether there is probable cause for an arrest is a separate question. Whether there is probable cause for criminal charges is a separate question than whether by a preponderance of the evidence, I find that two or more acts had occurred. And there was nothing told to me about January 11th, so I do find that that's irrelevant, what may or may not have occurred on January 11th, because that was not alleged to have been one of the potential two or more acts of harassment that occurred.
All right. So the officer that arrested me is here as a witness, so I get to call him on my part.
If he has something relevant to testify to as to what he was told, then yes, I can't give you any advice as to how to proceed, but if he does have something relevant, then he will be permitted to testify.
All righty. Okay, so the only issue, since we're not going to talk about the issue on, let me go back to that. Trying to go back to the complaint. Your Honor, because I didn't have the complaint with me, so I had to go down and get one copy down below. So,
Do you need a minute to go through this?
no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I just got to get back to that page.
I'm not trying to rush you.
Yeah. All right. So the May 11th incident is not going to be considered, so I don't have to talk about that no more. So on January 2nd, you say I recorded the court administrator without obtaining his permission. So only. Yes, I know. I'm just stating it. The complaint filed with the Tucson Police Department. When did you file that complaint, and what was it for?
Okay, I will allow the question as to when the complaint was filed. And
I
what it
withdraw
was
my
for
objection.
specifically. No, that's fine, thank you.
I can't tell you the exact date. You could probably look at the police report. It may have been a week later, it may have been several weeks later, I don't know. It was after you posted the video
Okay.
on your web channel.
There was a police report made on that?
If I filed a complaint, there was.
Can I have that? I never got that.
I don't own the police reports, Mr. Brown.
So the police report you filed, do you have a copy of it?
No,
What did you say on that police report?
that you were recording me without my permission
That's all?
in violation of Rule 122.1C2.
Okay. When you went to get this injunction, tell me everything you told the judge to get this injunction.
And I will say that what I'm considering now is, that was for a preliminary injunction. What I'm giving weight to now, I'm not going back and padding this record with things that are not a part of it. So what I'm giving weight to, if there's something you believe that was inconsistent that was said, then insofar as it goes to an inconsistency with what's been testified to today, I'll allow you to ask that.
Yeah.
But if there are other things that have not been raised here today, I'm not going to give weight to those things
Yeah.
for the purpose of maintaining the injunction.
So can you answer
If you,
what?
so if you believe there's an inconsistent statement that was
Yeah.
made at that time with what was testified to today, I'll allow you to explore that, but
Yeah.
you'll need to.
So I don't know what he said to you, so I have to know that first before I can see if there was, because all I have is what he gave me here. That's all I got. I got
Okay, well, that hearing was recorded. It's looking like, we're not gonna be able to finish today. You can get a copy of that recording if you want to hear exactly what was said, but if
Okay.
you want to question the witness to the best of his knowledge, if he
Yes.
gave any inconsistent statement, he can answer that question.
All right.
You may be stuck with the answer that maybe that he doesn't believe so, but I don't know.
All right.
But you're welcome to ask that question.
Okay. I'm asking you that question.
Generally, my standard procedure is to read the petition, which I believe I did. I do believe, and I'm pretty sure, I asked the judge that in prior injunctions that we had received, that language was used that required you, Mr. Brown, to comply with Rule 122.1, and that you not be allowed to go to the court unless you had a specific court date or an appointment. The judge then replied that that was implied.
Okay. On my other injunctions, in the first injunction, you stated that you're not asking me not to come to the court on that one, because that would be unconstitutional. You was just asking me to comply with 122. The other ones had me comply with 122. This one tells me I can't go into court at all. There's no other rulings on this, is there? Other than I have to, no contact.
That's a question for the judge.
And
Because, I asked for that, and I think if you look at the box that is checked, and again, I'm not an attorney, where it says no contact, it says defendant shall have no contact with plaintiff's employer or other person while that person is on or at the employer's property or place of business, or is performing official work duties, except through attorneys, legal process, court hearings, and as checked.
okay. And the other injunctions against workplace harassment also said no contact on the front, correct?
I assume so.
But I was allowed to go in and just comply with Rule 122, correct? I was still allowed to go back into court. I just couldn't film anybody without their consent, correct?
Correct.
So
That was
I-
what, I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
But now you're saying I can't go to city court at all.
I didn't say that.
Well, this injunction says no contact, so I can't go within 100 feet of that building or with you?
It doesn't say that.
Okay, what does no contact mean? What can I
just
do?
read it to you, Mr. Brown.
Okay, what can I do? This other one had further instructions. This one has none there. This one said everything I could do.
Again, I think your question is best directed to the judge that issued the order.
What judge issued the order?
Your Honor, may it please the court.
Yes, if I can address, Mr. Brown, I did issue that is a preliminary order. And as far as any limitations on that, that is something that can be addressed. This order, if I uphold it, can be modified to include certain provisions like that, and I will give you an opportunity to argue for that. In the event that I uphold it, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I do find that whether Mr. Hale had asked for that, that is something that if he wants to have that, he can, through his attorney, request that those be the special provisions, or you can request that those provisions be available.
Okay.
But as far as whether, what his understanding is of it, I find that to be irrelevant.
Your Honor,
So-
may
Yes, go
I
ahead.
clarify on this point? In the under advisement ruling of December 26, 2018, on page 8, the court modified the injunction that was issued in that case, saying that Mr. Brown may enter city court as a party witness or observer as long as he complies with Rule 122.1C2. If requested to leave by court staff or security, Mr. Brown must leave immediately or be in violation of this order. To be clear, Rule 122 requires explicit permission of the presiding judge to be able to record, photograph, video, or audio in the courtroom. This includes staff.
In a courtroom.
We are asking for the same injunction to be issued in this present case.
Okay, I think that's.
It's already been affirmed in the
Okay,
Superior Court.
and I think that's been clarified, and again, Mr. Brown, there will be an opportunity for you to argue for modification of the order, but I do find that the opinion that Mr. Hale may have about it would not be relevant. That's something that I will give you an opportunity to argue
Okay.
for. Okay.
Do you have, and that just said in a courtroom right there. So do you have any proof that I've ever recorded in a courtroom without the judge's permission?
Your Honor, I think that's irrelevant.
And I find that is irrelevant because that was not part of the two allegations that were testified to.
But he's saying that I was. During testimony today, he said that I
The
recorded.
reason it's irrelevant is because the injunction is to be obtained against Mr. Brown for violating Rule 122.1C2. Recording in a courtroom is part of that, but we're alleging that Mr. Brown has a habit and pattern of recording people inside the courthouse, but outside of a courtroom without their permission.
And again, and I refer to what I've already ruled, that the testimony that was provided goes to the incident on January 2nd, where Mr. Hale alleges that he was recorded without his consent, and on January 24th, where there was a disruption in the courtroom. I do not have a recollection of testimony that there was a Mr. Brown recording in the courtroom, rather being disruptive in the courtroom. So I do find that whether there has been proof that he has recorded in a courtroom before would be irrelevant, as it does not go to those two allegations.
Okay. As long as you ain't giving weight to what they're saying, because just so you
That's
believe
not-
I didn't record.
No, and that's not
So-
part of the allegation at this
Yes.
point.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so back on this here, okay, Mark Brown was at court of arraignment, court 2, with 2 associates, inserted himself into interaction between Patrick Gonzalez. Okay, the disruption in the courtroom between Patrick Gonzalez and the officer, are you saying that's my fault? The disruption, the initial disruption?
No.
It's just that I commented on it, you're saying. And I gave a speech that we ain't heard yet.
We did hear the speech.
And the speech was what, 2 words? Meet me? What was?
That was asked and answered.
Yeah,
But you'll have an opportunity to testify that you disagree with that.
yes. I'd rather play the speech, but I want to see it.
When we get to.
Because I might have been passed out and sleepwalking, but I never.
Okay, I understand. You can ask another question in this way.
Okay, all right, so we go back to my questions that I have written down. All right. Okay, so on January 22nd, you interviewed with Mr. Springer in your courtroom, and that was recorded. You gave him permission to record it, correct?
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
So you gave him permission.
Asked and answered.
Okay.
You can ask another question if you have something.
Yes.
else about
So
that
during that interview, you told Mr. Freeman.
Asked and sustained, Your Honor.
You didn't even hear the question yet, sir. How could he do that?
You can finish your question and I'll roll on.
Yeah. So during that interview, you told Mr. Freeman that I'm not very legally savvy and I need
Asked,
Vernon Peltz for my legal advice. Correct?
Sustained. That has been asked and answered.
What was the answer? I never answered that.
That he didn't remember. Okay, so we can,
Oh, he don't remember nothing in that interview, so I can't ask him nothing on that interview?
Your
You can
Honor,
ask another question.
This is irrelevant. What Mr.
Okay.
Hale said in this alleged YouTube interview with some third party is irrelevant.
Just to make it easy for you, that video I got on my evidence here, and it's 1 hour and 40 minutes long. I think you'd rather hear me talk about it than watch it, because we're gonna have to watch a bunch of parts of that because to refresh his memory. And I do got it right here.
okay, and I do need some information as to how this is relevant to the incident on January 2nd or January 24th. If those incidents are discussed, that might be relevant. If there is a prior inconsistent statement about those incidents, then I will allow narrow questioning as it relates to the January 2nd and January 24th incidents.
Yes. And on that, he gave permission to all of us to record right then out in the hallway. So that's why that's relevant. He gave us permission to record him that day.
Okay.
But not that I need permission because he's a court.
Okay,
Your Honor,
so
that's testimony.
I agree. So if there
Your Honor, I would
was,
like to revise my motion.
yes,
Could I actually have that to be considered testimony from Mr. Brown instead of just a question?
it will be stricken from the record at this point in time,
okay.
in the event that he testifies.
I'm actually not
Yes.
asking to strike it. I'm actually asking
I will
to be
testify.
considered as testimony.
If he wants me to hold up my hand, I have no problem.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue, I think he's gonna testify. At this point, if there's anything, if there's anything as it relates directly to January 2nd or January 24th.
Yes.
Okay, well, what is the question that relates directly to January 2nd?
All right, so
January 24th, or June 24th, I apologize, go ahead. Was it June, or?
January.
Oh, it was January.
yes, January 2nd, yes.
Yes, all right, go ahead.
So, did you tell Sergeant Gunny that you was going to go over his head when he wouldn't arrest me on May 30th?
And again, the May
Your Honor,
30th.
that's irrelevant.
That is sustained. Okay. We can go to the January 2nd or January 24th. That's-
Okay. So, can I submit this as evidence, sir?
And what are you trying to submit as evidence?
I was arrested on the January 2nd, on January 11th. This is where I was arrested, and it talks about all that. This is the ticket.
Okay, so, and I do find that that's not relevant because that would go to whether there was probable cause for an arrest, which is a different standard than whether there is proof by a preponderance of the evidence that these two incidents occurred. And I will also sustain that as hearsay. But apparently you have the officer here.
The officer that arrested me is here.
Okay.
So I can bring that up then, right? When I get him on the stand?
If he's got anything relevant to testify to.
Okay. All right. And the other officer, sir, I subpoenaed was Officer Sherman, the bald guy in the thing, and he wouldn't accept my subpoena. So that was the other officer I had, and it's really important I have him. I was denied to call him because they told him he'd be there at 2. He works behind the desk. When I got there, they hit him in the back.
Your Honor, this is irrelevant to the questioning of Mr. Hale.
It is, and we will address that when it comes time to present your witnesses, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, so you answered, do we think we have right to record our public authorities, of course, their duty? You say no. And what do the signs say currently, as of right now? You just replaced them, correct?
They say no photography. Actually, Your Honor, give me
Yes.
just a second, I think I got it.
Sure, that's fine.
It says, no photography, no video recording per Arizona Supreme Court Rule 122.1. Has a picture of a camera, a video recorder, a cell phone with a circle and a line through it. It also says the exact same thing in Spanish.
Okay.
And I will add that this sign is the recommended sign by the Arizona Supreme Court's Administrative Office of the Courts to be placed in every Arizona court.
But it says no recording as per Rule 122.1. And where does it say in 122.1 there's no recording?
I'll tell you. In Rule 122.1, let's see, give me a second here. So this is the part I think you guys always miss. In Part C, it says photography and audio video recording. Photography, audio recording, and video recording in a courthouse are permitted. But the following restrictions apply. And if I'm not mistaken, let's go down to 3, C3. Local orders. By local administrative order, a court may adopt further reasonable limits on photography and audio or video recording in a courthouse that are not inconsistent with this rule or Rule 122. Also, under F, 122.1F, it says use of a portable electronic device outside of a courtroom. Limitations. Except as provided in paragraphs C, D, and E of this rule, a person may use a portable electronic device in a courthouse subject to the authorities of judges, clerks of court, or court administrators to limit or terminate activity that is disruptive to court operations or that compromises courthouse security. And that is the authority for the presiding judge to write that order.
Okay. Okay, when you say the following restrictions reply, can you read each one of them? Did I do that?
You recorded people without their permission.
Okay, read the following.
I know where you're going with
Your Honor,
this.
again,
Well, let me go.
Your Honor, again, this is just rereading legal rules in the court, which you're perfectly capable of interpreting. That's your job.
Now, let's, I'll let Mr. Brown complete the question and then
Yes.
I'll rule.
Yeah. So one of them restrictions is recording jurors or witnesses. Correct?
Okay, that is sustained, and I will take judicial notice of the rule. And Mr. Hale's interpretation of the rule is not relevant to the court's interpretation of the rule.